We can confirm that additional structures have been destroyed and damaged in this fire. We have damage inspection teams on the fire right now going methodically through the entire fire area to get a better count and a better number of the type of structures. Unfortunately, we had 2 firefighter injuries today. They were both burn injuries. The first one appears relatively minor. The firefighter was taken by ground ambulance to a burn center. The second one was more significant. The firefighter was airlifted and flown to UC Davis Medical Center for burn injuries. We do have additional resources coming into the area. This includes in resources from outside the state of California, the National Guard, and additional cooperators from within the state. I will just read off the latest facts for the fire before we get into our speakers. We can confirm the fire is now at least 54,298 acres. Containment has unfortunately gone down to 5% from 10% this morning. We can confirm that we have 94 structures that have been destroyed and 17 structures that have been damaged. Of those, the composition between residential structure, outbuilding, and commercial will be forthcoming. We still have just under 80,000 structures throughout the area that are still threatened by fire. And to deal with that, we have over 3,400 firefighters on the line. As far as evacuations go, in Sonoma County, zones 1 through 10 are still a evacuation order, and in Napa County, zone 21 is still an evacuation warning. With that, we are going to do like we did this morning and get an update from the National Weather Service. I'll hand it over to our incident meteorologist, Brian Walbrook.
All right, good evening. So once again, we did have very challenging weather conditions out on the fire lines today. We did have recorded wind gusts on the order of 75 miles an hour. As we move into this evening, we are still under that red flag warning that is in effect until 11 our wind gusts out on the fire lines. Humidity values remain critically low. We've been down to about 9% and are staying in the teens, so those are tough firefighting conditions. The good news is as that red flag warning expires tomorrow, it looks like we have about a 24-hour window of favorable weather Monday afternoon and into Tuesday. We will then be getting ready for another wind event as we look into Tuesday night into Wednesday. And right now, unfortunately, we have no rain in the forecast through the end of the month. Thanks.
Next will be our fire behavior analyst, Steve Ballmer.
Good evening. With the new location of the fire, we're continuing to see the erratic fire spread along with long-range spotting as it continues to move. We're still modeling the fire behavior on the west side of Highway 101 as well as the fire behavior in the current area where the fire is burning. When we have the wind shifts that will occur tomorrow afternoon, that's going to greatly aid the firefighting effort. It's going to decrease the intensity of the fire, decrease the flame lengths and the rate of spread, and allow us to go after it a little more aggressively. However, it will wind test the northeastern section of the fire up in the high country. We will see increase in fire activity again Tuesday evening when that other system comes through.
And for an operational overview of what is actually occurring on the line right now, we have Incident Commander Mike Blankenheim. I'll turn it over to him.
All right, good evening, everybody. A quick recap of where we were at this morning. So both the weather predictions and the fire behavior predictions proved to be extremely accurate today. The wind surfaced around 1 o'clock this morning and brought the fire out of the hills here and across Highway 128 at around 3 o'clock this morning. At about 11 o'clock this morning, the fire was impacting the 101 freeway between Windsor and Healdsburg. So from 11 o'clock this morning till now, fortunately the fire has not crossed the 101. The wind is kind of lined up in a more northerly direction and is pushed straight south on the east side of 101. Currently, the fire edge is somewhere just south of the community of Windsor near Shiloh, where our resources are actively engaged in both perimeter control and attempts at structure defense.
And before we let the incident commander back to the command post, are there any questions related to operations for him? Okay, perfect. With that, we'll hand it over to Sheriff Essig.
All right, good evening. So we've been getting a lot of questions up tonight about evacuation. Are the evacuation orders still in place? Yes, they are. So all the areas that we have ordered to be evacuated earlier still remain in effect. The way that you, the public, can keep up to date on evacuation orders is you can text your zip code to 888-777, that's Nixle. 888-777, text your zip code, and you will be updated on evacuation orders and when we start to repopulate areas, but we are not there yet. This afternoon I had a chance to take a look at the fire from the air, from the Sheriff's Office helicopter, Henry 1, and evacuation orders was well warranted. The fire approached the northeastern edge of before it entered into the town of Windsor. Their efforts were incredible, and right now we are very happy. They have been very valiant, and we're very, very happy and thankful. Because of all the evacuations that are going on, we have had a lot of feedback at the Sheriff's Office about what's happening, what is the Sheriff's Office doing to help those evacuees understand, keep them educated about what's going on in the community. So we took a little visit today. We went to the large animal shelter here at the fair. So again, we want you to follow the Sheriff's Office on Nixle, and you can stay updated there. $180,000 people. It's a decision we do for public safety. But when I was in that shelter, their best sandwich. We want to get people back to their homes as quickly as possible. We understand there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety and fear out there, and people want to get back. Right decision, so we need you to cooperate and stay out of those areas. Your life is our priority. It's my priority as your sheriff, and right now it's still too dangerous to enter the evacuation zones. As we've heard, winds are still very unpredictable. We will get you returned as soon as it is. Property, we're looking out for your homes. We're looking out for looters. Into an unauthorized area. So what happened is we had a person enter an evacuation zone. Had a residence in the area, and based on that, we made an arrest. Now, I've told you earlier that we're going to be very aggressive with looters, and because of our presence, we have not had for no apparent reason. So we did make an arrest today. I'd be glad to talk to you offline about that in further detail if you have questions. So stay informed. There's a lot of questions out there still. We want you to follow us on Nixle. We want you to look at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We will keep you updated. Sheriff's offices have been here for you. We've got our people in the field. They're working hard. Our deputies want to work. They want to be there to protect you. They're tied to the community just like you are. So please, if you see a deputy in the field, you have questions, contact them. They're there to help you. They're there to provide direction and assistance. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the California Highway Patrol Chief Noyes.
Good evening, everybody. Tim Noyes, Assistant Chief Highway Patrol. I just want to thank everybody for their patience. We understand the magnitude of this entire incident. on the traffic. I can tell you the 101 now. I can tell you that as of right now, we are opening the southbound 101 completely. Unfortunately, resources throughout the entire state to try and help you out. And the only other thing I just want to keep reminding you is it has been windy. There's still a lot. Watch out for those traffic signals that burn out and treat them as stop signs, and just try and remain safe out there.
Representing the County of Sonoma is Supervisor Rabbit.
To everyone who's come to officer from the county or from without, thank you very much for your service and dedication. I also want to say thank you to all the volunteers and the public that have stepped up. We did just visit Petaluma's shelter with the governor, appreciative of our partnership with the state as well. It is an unprecedented move to evacuate up to 186,000 people in this county for sure, and we couldn't do that without the wonderful work of our Sheriff's Department, law enforcement partners, California Highway Patrol, and everyone else. We also can't operate our shelters without our partnership with the American Red Cross, our own county departments of Human Services, Health Services, and more, and the volunteers. Again, I think the silver lining to all these types of incidents are really to watch citizens rise up and help one another. We have the Napa Expo. We have Santa Rosa Vets, Petaluma Fairgrounds. Petaluma on the west side that has space as well. So thank you to all these partners that are out there, all the volunteers that are staffing those.
Just in final closing, to summarize, we are in the heart of the battle right now with this fire in Sonoma County. We ask that everybody who is outside of an evacuation zone have a plan. This fire could change direction and activity at any moment, and that could result in additional evacuations. So everyone in the surrounding area to the evacuation order area, we request that you have a plan to leave should that become necessary based on the fire. With that, we'll open up for questions for any of the representatives up here.
I know that we're still in the midst of this fire, but there are winds predicted for the next few days. Can you talk about resources and what people should be prepared for with these evacuations and these coming winds?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. We've seen an uptick in fire activity statewide over the last basically 48 hours. And as we've been saying for the last few days, we can only be successful if every civilian aids us in reducing the fire risk across the state right now. To say that conditions are a tinderbox is probably an understatement because when you put an offshore wind on it, it literally only takes one spark. We do have a statewide system that ensures that even while we're battling a 54,000 acre fire in Sonoma County, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from the local fire station to the regional level to the Sacramento level, that coverage is always being evaluated and moved.
You mentioned that you're in the heart of this fire right now, but the fire activities and the firefighting that happened in northeast Windsor today, as the fire came down Foothill and approached the suburban neighborhoods of Windsor, the fact that that was able to be knocked down feels like a win. In 2017, there was actually a fire in Lakeville approaching Petaluma, And as I've spoken to some of those fire crews, they said that was one of the first times that they really put their foot down, and they felt that was the first win for that particular incident in 2017. Would you say that today Northeast Windsor was a kind of a line in the sand and a first big win for the Kincade Fire?
Yeah, so I think, you know, we really are trying to keep the fire opposed to the 2017 Tubbs fire that made a big run through a lot of residential areas in a very driven pushes into these areas. That was the front lines. This is the front lines of those evacuated areas. This is exactly why we asked for the evacuations of such a large area, so that those crews can get in there, they can take action, and they can really engage when and where they need to based on the wind. I would say, though, we're not out of the woods. The wind is continuing tonight. Again, as the meteorologist said, we have another wind event later in the week, and the big takeaway for everyone results in us potentially being able to save you.
Good question for the sheriff, if you don't mind, sir. So about 40 minutes ago, I was here in Santa Rosa. It's under a warning. Now, in the evacuation zone in a shopping center, I believe they call it the Stony Point Shopping Center, there were still some stores open. There was a fast food restaurant operating. I went to a neighborhood where people had
Some people seem to have a sense of security, and they seem to feel that this is not fine point on why we need to listen to these evacuation warnings. We had fire right up to the back.
Building on that, there's a guy with
and it was actively pumping water on the roof of their home. So I am aware that those kind of situations. As well. Yes, sir.
Do you feel that there are still people who
I don't know. So I really want to emphasize and encourage people to evacuate. There's no reason that we should be losing life here.
and when
Well, I think the frustration comes. There are still a lot of unknowns. People want to know when they're going to get back to their home. We've heard that CAL FIRE is speaking that November 7th is their target date for containment. So people hear that date and they think, oh my gosh, that's really a long ways away.
Are you already working on additional shelters in other areas like Marin or beyond?
Supervisor? That's a great question. Both in Marin, Sonoma, and Napa counties. And I forgot to mention that Alameda County Fairgrounds is taking large animals. It's a regional approach. When we have such a large swath of Sonoma County in an evacuation area, that limits the ability of us to have enough shelters within the county. We have to. Petaluma is doing a great job. There's a lot of facilities down there because they're out of harm's way right now. But we really need to rely on our neighbors, the other counties, the other cities that are out there. But we're constantly looking to make sure that we have adequate resources.
Power, how much does that complicate this shelter situation?
I think we've that they concentrate. We'll ask them to concentrate on those areas that have shelters. So.
When do you start to get concerned about the wind?
It's people, right? And the schedule that we work is 24 hours on, 24 hours off, and that's the most effective way to staff a fire because the amount of time it takes to ramp up, brief, get supplies, get to the line, and then engage. We can also make big strides. Come down on those 24-hour shifts. That allows us to also rest crews for 24 hours off on the next operational period. So it allows firefighters some reprieve, essentially a full day to overcome the physical labor of what they've been doing. I will say, we have additional resources now coming from outside the state. Hour shifts. So it does really come down to resources and boots on the ground, and that's why getting additional resources in here is such a priority.
Can you talk about, there have been several fires around the Bay Area just today, and how did those fires tax your resources and how you just figure out here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line in California and the United States, there's a limited number of fire resources. It's a finite number when you go from to the state or to the national level. That are committed to an incident themselves. The other thing is, we have a large air fleet in California, and our air fleet is really designed to get to fires quickly and try to slow them down while they're small. So while some
from veteran firefighters, we've never seen anything like this. Is this what you're encountering once again this year? Are these things you've never?
scale, scope, and frequency of these fires across the state. I think on the negative side is just the physical, mental tax on our folks. I will say on the positive side, these crews are well versed to its extreme over the last few years, and it's the reason why, as we sit here today, 3,400 firefighters are in place with more on the way. So the frequency of these fires that is occurring over the last few years is obviously disconcerting to firefighters, but it also has exercised us to a point where today you're seeing the result of that.
And another cliche we've heard, the new normal. Is this something, and you don't have to use that term, but is this something that we have to come to expect with some opinion?
Want to burn at the end of the day. Compound with that with the facts of some climactic changes with where Californians lived and the population going from 10,000 to 40,000 in the last 100 years, and that all kind of